Beautiful. Okay, we begin today chapter 40, a continuation, of course, of the 39 previous chapters, but specifically the last chapter, speaking about kavanah, intent. This is the last chapter that will bring it together. Last chapter in this three-part chapter series of intent, lishma, for its own sake. Its own sake means for the sake of an attachment, a bond, a divine bond, as opposed to, well, we'll get into that in a moment. So we explained that you can only do something for another, which means lishma, for its own sake, to do a mitzvah for the attachment to God. Likewise, in human relationship, you can only do something for another if there's a motivation of love and respect. Respect / fear / awe. Fear doesn't mean fear of punishment. Fear means fear of disconnect. Love is the desire to connect. Fear is the desire not to disconnect. And what we're in this reference of here, fear can be fear of punishment, but that's not about a relationship. That's about you. So in the relationship between us and God, when you do good, when you do a mitzvah, you need to have kavanah, intent. The intent is lishma, that you're doing it for its own value, which its own value is the connection that we create. That we create a connection. Now, of course, there's many derivatives of that. There's many consequences of that connection, no doubt. But that's the essential idea in the lishma, the kavanah, the intent that we have. So now we explained there are two different ways, two basic ways. One is that I use my mind to appreciate what I'm engaged in, the mitzvah that I'm engaged in, the power of it, the meaning of it, the connection that it creates, the new light it brings into this world, which we'll elaborate upon that more. Excuse me. And that produces or filters into our heart that we have that love and awe in engaging. That is one manner. Another is that we're not so capable of creating a real feeling, but we have the love and awe that is already there in our soul, because our soul is a part of God. So it is intrinsic, it is native to the soul. The problem is our divine soul is kind of covered up with an animal soul and a body that has a different agenda, totally, that is self-directed, selfish, ultimately, and seeking only pleasure for itself. So you need to tap into that inner, deeper reality, that love and awe is there. And we do that even if we're just mentally aware. If we just bring to our cognition, we bring to our mindful state in our head and our thoughts, that when we're engaged, like learning Tanya right now, that in this learning, we are bound up and one with God. Even though we might not feel it, that's okay. We are aware of it. That's amazing. We think it for a moment even. It doesn't have to be a long, obviously the longer, the more possibility that it could even actually bring to a feeling in the heart. But even if it doesn't. Now, if a person does not, what we explained yesterday, there's doing it for ulterior motives, which is self-aggrandizement or self-fulfillment. That's not lishma, that's for myself. I'm doing totally, this is for me. In other words, it's not about God. It's like I've given the metaphor before, like, the college student calls dad on Sunday afternoon and says, "Hey, Dad, what's happening? How you doing?" He says, "How's Sunday football? What's happening?" He says, the father says, "No, son, how much money do you need?" In other words, is the child, the son, calling the father because he wants to connect? No, he wants something from his father. He wants something from his father. That's a metaphor. Obviously, not all children and not all sons are that way, and so on. We're just using that by way of metaphor to understand the idea that that's not a relationship, or that's a child's relationship. That's not a mature relationship, and it's about the desire to bond, to connect. So if you don't have that mentally or emotionally in any manner, then not only does your study not ascend to the divine above, as we explained, that if you're motivated by the love and awe, again, mentally or emotionally, then it ascends to the divine worlds of Yetzirah or Bria. But if you don't have that, it doesn't go up, right? It doesn't go to the divine because it can't be clothed without intent, without the wings to make it fly, because there is no love and awe, and it doesn't stand there before God. So where does it go? So that Torah study goes into, it does go to the world of Yetzirah and Asiya, but to the external aspect of the world, not to the divine of the world. And you know what's in the external aspect of the world? Angels are there. And actually, the Arizal explains that when you do a mitzvah or you study Torah without intent, without the lishma of the connection, in order to connect, then you know what you do? You create angels. But angels are created things, and therefore they're limited. They have a limited time period. They're not eternal. When you do lishma, when you do for its own sake, that's your intent. So then your Torah, your mitzvah that you've done, ascends on high and is there eternally. Ultimately, we'll experience it in Gan Eden, and in times of Mashiach, we'll have a true experience of that which we have accomplished now. Now, we don't have that true experience. We're not capable of it. Our soul is not so attuned to the good deed, this Torah study that we do. But we will have it because it is there for eternity. Good we do is eternal. But that's when it's motivated, has wings of kavanah, of intent, lishma. But if you don't have that, so you're creating angels. Angels are created beings. They're not godliness. They're creations. And interesting to note that what you create? Angels have what we call form and matter. Not physical matter. It's spiritual matter, whatever that means. So through the mechanical action that you do in the mitzvah, you create the matter of an angel. Through the thought that you are doing a mitzvah, right? That you have a thought that you're doing something that is divine, even though you don't do it lishma, you don't have this sense of, again, the mindfulness of that this is a bond, but just have like this notion that you are doing a mitzvah. That simple thought creates the form of the angel, but it only creates angels because it doesn't have intent, true intent of lishma. So people think, I think in Western culture, that, angels, you have your angel protecting you, you make it, you create angels. That, according to the Arizal's teachings, is not such a positive thing. Now, the positive thing about it is that from the angels that you've created, once you now learn or do that mitzvah lishma, all of that previous times that you did it kind of out of rote will now be elevated. It'll be elevated. That's the beautiful idea. In other words, it's not in klipa. It is not in a shell that's covering over on the holiness of it, because it does create an angel. It does create an energy force an energy force, but it's a created energy force. It's not a divine one that is bound up in one with God. It's a created thing, so it has a limited, limited time and effect, very limited as a result. Now, if a person, on the other hand, is studying Torah, right, in order for self-aggrandizement means that you are doing it for, let's say, studying Torah so you could look smart and you could be honored because you are so smart, and that you, or maybe you're just doing it for the self-help aspect of it. You're not doing it for the connection. You're just doing it for that you could feel better about yourself, right? So that's not, that is an ulterior motive. And therefore, that, as we mentioned yesterday, that selfish motive, that Torah study or the mitzvah that you do, is bound up in klipa, in a negative force. Doesn't create angels, doesn't go above, it stays down here below in negative forces in this world. And this is what it means when King Solomon said, what profit does a person have of all of their toil when a person toils, labors under the sun? Under the sun, there's no profit in your efforts. Why? Because under the sun means the human condition. Human condition under the sun, that's the metaphor, under the sun, that when you toil as humans do for self-interest, you will have no profit. Meaning, you haven't created anything. You haven't created any new divine light to bring into this world. But when you study Torah, lishma, with intent, in order to be connected and bonded and one with God, that's your intent, or a mitzvah, that's what you're doing it. Again, together with all of the other derivatives that come with the mitzvah, right? And those are the derivatives, the consequences, right? But that's not the essential point of the mitzvah. Mitzvah is a connection. So it is a divine connection first and foremost. We came into this world, first connection you have is to God. Well, maybe umbilical cord to your mom, but we're always connected to God. So with that notion of connection, excuse me, through study of Torah, you know what? Torah study with lishma, for doing it for its own sake, for the bond, is over the sun. In other words, beyond the human condition. And from that, we create a new light. Our mitzvah, our study, ascends on high, creates a union between the male and female parts of God, which actually is something we're not going to discuss now because that's actually later. You have it for eternity. And this is also then the meaning of what our sages say in the Talmud. Happy is the individual who arrives on high after you've finished your time in this world. And when you arrive on high with your Torah study in hand. What do you mean your Torah study's in hand? In other words, your Torah study didn't remain below. You're able to take it with you. Why are you able to take it with you? Because when you studied lishma in order that you should be able to be connected with God, bonded and one with God. That is your intention, whether you feel it in your heart, which is optimal. But even if you don't feel it in your heart, the fact that you are mindful of that in your mind, that's an expression of your soul. The fact that you are mindful of it, and therefore you will come, so to speak, upstairs to Gan Eden with that in hand. That is the end of today's lesson. So we've learned about creating angels. Not such a great thing. Creating angels. If we can have a connection to the divine, why would you want to have a connection to the human condition? And the human condition includes, on the spiritual level, Angels. So who wants that? If you can learn Torah, do a mitzvah, and be connected with eternity, in that mitzvah and that study is connected with the divine, which is connected with the essence of God. Much greater. All right, I know now that. Do we have any questions, any comments here? Okay. Batya, Vilma, anybody want to share something? I'm looking for questions. Anybody who has a question, please put 2 question marks before your comment on Facebook so I know it's a question. So Alice is asking, what exactly happens when we create angels? What exactly happens? I'm not exactly certain what exactly happens. We create angels. What happens to those angels? I don't know. I have to do a little more research. I don't know exactly. Remember that's not what we want to do, is create angels. That's not our intent, is to create angels, because that is of the human condition, meaning just like humans are limited, angels are also limited. We can have a connection to the divine, to that which is limitless, that which is eternal, and who would want anything less? Sorry, let me just continue over here. What does it mean as far as bonding with Hashem? What does it mean? It means right now we're studying Torah, and the fact that we are aware of and think for the moment that this is a bond with the essence of God. We are actually being bonded with the essence of God right now. Now, I know we're all into experiences, and we want to experience it. We're not capable of experiencing that, but we need to be mindful of that. Even if we don't experience it, it doesn't take away from the truth. Consciously, I remember once reading something that we see 7 parts compared to subconsciously 1,000,000 parts in the same moment or time period. In other words, subconsciously, so much more is happening than what is consciously happening, and this is definitely happening on a soul level. The bond is there. Again, those who have worked over the physical reality of theirs to such a degree that they're righteous, that they have no urge in their heart of any negativity, they are capable of having some kind of experience of that. We are not, but we will. In Gan Eden, we'll have a little glimmer of it, and in time to come, Mashiach, we'll have its totality, which is actually pretty amazing. Vilma, Marcy, Vilma, Marcy wanted to ask something or say something.
I have an I know now. Oh. I was talking yesterday with a girlfriend of mine, and she was asking me if I am still mad at HaKadosh Baruch Hu for, life. And her question was in the context of, you're doing all this stuff to get ready for Pesach, how are you feeling about all of this? And the good news for me is I don't have to feel the connection to have intent, to follow HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't have to feel connected. If I have intent, it's still valid to just go through the motions and do what I need to do until I can feel connected.
Thank you for sharing that, Marcy. So the fact that you do think it, and the more we think it and know it, so to speak, know it in the sense that like it's real for us. It's not, it's not just a thought, but we believe it. We just don't experience it. Doesn't mean we don't believe it. And because we believe that, what will happen? We'll have some kind of sense of it that we'll feel that it propels us. And as a result, thank you for sharing that. That you're right. Especially when it comes to cleaning for Pesach, and getting ready for Pesach. There's so much you have to do, and it becomes a tedious task at times. And when you can know that, hey, this is all a connection, and maybe I don't feel it, but it's real. Thank you. That was really nice. Vilma.
Well, thank you, Rabbi. There are times when, I felt the connection very, very strongly, but that's not to say that it happens all the time. Like, I think that just like any relationship, like it needs work and effort to connect. Like it just doesn't happen by accident.
Totally.
So the actions we take, the things we do and say with our beloved in mind matter.
Yeah. It takes effort. Exactly. Just like as we see human relationships, that they go up and down, and so likewise when it comes to our relationship with God, that's why the Jewish people are likened to the moon, because the moon, waxes and wanes. There's a time like right now, it's a full moon, full relationship, full of light, and there's other times barely you can see anything. You don't even see anything. You don't feel anything. You don't sense anything, right? That's exactly so. So in human relationships, it's that way. The reason why it's that way in human relationships, because in our relationship with God, it's that way. Absolutely. Thank you. There's some questions here that I have, but I think I lost. Okay. So, would you consider my attempt to read and understand the Tanya as selfish, under the sun, motive to clothe in klipa, or a naive attempt to grasp the truth, the wisdom of creation? A question for non-observant yet spiritual Jews. I'm not certain I got that clear. Let me just make sure I have clarity over here. So, yeah, if we want to just know wisdom of creation without connecting it to God, and we want to have wisdom for our lives, so for whatever reason we want to have wisdom, just because it feeds me, so to speak. So that would not be doing it lishma. Would that be it might be not for the right reason. I hope I explained that well. Greg is asking, was it chapters 38, 39, 40 that covered this topic? Yes. Was chapters 35 through 37 spoke about the action of a mitzvah, the mechanical engagement when we do a mitzvah. In other words, just do it. The act of just being charitable, the act of just putting on your tefillin without intent. And then chapters 38 through 40, which we just started, chapter 40, deal with the kavana, the intent. Exactly, yes. Let me see. Richard is asking, we need connection to Elijah to get connected to Mashiach. Well, yes, we're going to be connected with Elijah at the Pesach Seder. He's coming. He's coming to everyone's Pesach Seder. And make sure you open the door for him. And you'll probably notice that he probably sipped a little of your wine. Okay. Trying to see any other. Greg, these angels are a metaphor for what? Angels are not a metaphor. Angels are angels are called in some places like messengers. They're a messenger to do God's bidding, to fulfill a certain task, to bring a certain element of the divine will into fruition in spiritual worlds and in this physical world. So what would be a good metaphor for angels? Not exactly certain, but that's what it is.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Can you explain it again, how the angels are created? It's
Sure.
a concept I'm not
Yeah.
sure I understand.
So through the mechanical, angels have form and matter, not physical matter, right? But they have form and matter. And we create them, again, through our mitzvahs and through our Torah study, when it's not lishma. Because remember, when you're doing a mitzvah, you're doing something that's inherently divine. The problem is that it should go and be connected with the divine. You need your intent to connect to the divine. If you're lacking that intent to connect to the divine, so you're not going to. But yet, there's something inherent about the good deed that you did, the mitzvah that you did, right? Whether it's being charitable, whether it's, praying, putting on your tefillin, lighting, Shabbos candles, whatever it is, there's something that's inherently holy about it. So what it does do is create angels. Those angels are a divine creation, force. They're not divinity. They're a power that come from the divine, but they're not divinity. So in the mechanical act that you did of, let's say, being charitable, you create the matter of the angel. In the thought that this was not intent, but just the awareness that, you're doing something that is a mitzvah, but you're not really thinking about the bond, but you're not thinking about that this is bonding you in any way, but just the awareness that there's a mitzvah. Then you create the form of the angel. Those are the two things, right? When you do a mitzvah, though, with proper intent to connect, then with that proper intent, your mitzvah ascends on high, like birds have two wings. They ascend on high to the divine order of things, which is the divine attributes in the world of Yetzirah, the world of Bria, depending on what was the motivation, intellectual that brought to a feeling, or just, instinctual, native feelings of the soul. And it's connected with the divine attributes of the divine kindness, divine gvura, and so on and so forth above. And that is connected with God. That, therefore, is there for eternity. That mitzvah that you did, which is amazing, that we can do something for eternity. I hope that's clear.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Okay. I think I got everybody. Let me see if I got everybody's questions over here. Circles of life isn't the same. The connection to divine and my attempt to grasp the creation by the divine. Yeah, no, if you're trying to grasp the workings of the divine in order to connect to the divine, then that's beautiful. I hope that's clear. Do angels perish? Yes, angels do perish. Again, they're creations. Good question, Joey. Okay, anybody else has questions or comments? Anybody on Clubhouse wants to share something, or because Pesach is coming. Hi, Batya. Pesach is coming, so I've got only a couple of more moments. Go ahead, Batya. Please share.
Okay, I have no questions. I just wanted to say, so all that I've learned within this last week from what you've taught is our intentions are very paramount to our connection to Hashem when we do mitzvahs, and that's it.
Yeah, thank you. It is. And why ultimately it's paramount is not because, you would think intention is like the human part of the divine command. Right? There's a divine command, eat matzah on Passover. And the human engagement is that I have intent, right? I have an awareness. No, it's not because that's the human part that you give to it. Yeah, I mean, not entirely. I mean, it's partially true, rather. What it means is God really wants our intent. It's not just me giving my piece to this. God wants that. He doesn't want a mechanical deed only, even though the mechanical deed creates a connection. He wants that there should be illuminated, that action that you do is illuminated. That's what kavanah, intent, does. That's what mindfulness does when we do it lishma, for altruistic sake. And altruistic means for the connection itself, for the connection that we have to God through what we are doing. And of course, there isn't just that connection to God that we have through what we're doing, because there is so much more that accomplishes in human terms, and those things absolutely are also invaluable, but that's not the primary and the essence of the mitzvah, right? Because if it's about the human element, it's like, a lot of people, Passover, eating matzah is like it's okay. But really Passover is about having family together. Okay, we'll eat the matzah, we'll say the Haggadah. No, that's not what Passover is. Passover is about saying the Haggadah and eating matzah and doing the mitzvahs. Now, it's better to do it with family. But you know what? Sometimes you can't do it and you can only do it by yourself. Do it with the same fervor. You know why? Because in the action that you're doing, you're connecting to God. You're not connecting to God because you have your family around you. That's nice. Wonderful to have family, absolutely, no question. But the mitzvahs are for the family. The mitzvahs for the mitzvah. That's what it means altruistic. I'm not, telling the Haggadah because, the children need to know. No, I'm doing it because I got to do it. At the same time, yes, I've got to make sure that the children also, are influenced and inspired. But I can't influence and inspire somebody else if I am not first connected. I can't give to somebody anything that's meaningful if it's not genuine for me. If I'm doing it just for the kids, I'm doing it just for the family gathering. And by the mitzvahs are, of course I'm going to do it. Of course I'm going to engage in it. But, no, that's missing the point. The mitzvah is the mitzvah for its own sake. Mitzvah so we can have family together. Because you know what? There'll be times you can't have family together. Like now. There are many people who are going to make Pesach Seder all by themselves. Because of the pandemic. Here in Montreal in particular, that's the way things are with our curfew. We wanted to make a public Seder. We can't make a public Seder because there's a curfew here. So there are many people going to make it by themselves. So you could be like, it's a bummer, or recognize, hey, Pesach is not here as a reason to socialize with family and friends. Pesach is here for Pesach's sake, for the connections that we can make through the Pesach Seder to God, to the story, to our people, to me. That can really be connected to me, who I really am. Who am I? A Jew is celebrating the holiday. A Jew that is totally engaged in the holiday. Why? Just because. That's who I am. And that's the connection. And we have that mindfulness that through this, I am, fulfilling who and what I'm all about, regardless of who I'm doing it with. Wow, you're going to have an amazing Seder. Now, if you can do it with family and friends on top of that, amazing, beautiful, And so last year, it was only my wife and I. We had an amazing Seder. Amazing. Do we want to have, 30, 40 people at our Seder table? Absolutely. Not going to be able to do that, just because situation. But why was it? Because when you have the essence of something, the essential is the essential. And the essential is the mitzvah. And that's what's important. Oh, okay. Because why? Why is that important? Because through that you have the bond. Through that you have the connection. And when you can have that, then you're connected to, not only to, obviously to God, you're connected to your true self. And when you're genuine and you're true, now you can have others in your life. And you'll have a genuine, real connection. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. I want to wish everybody a Chag Kasher V'Sameach, a happy and kosher holiday. It should be an amazing celebration that is above and beyond what you imagine, because just because it will be. And a reminder, for the next 3 days we will not be having our class, but we will continue after the Yom Tov on Tuesday. Okay, so the next 3 days, learn Tanya on your own if you have the book. And if not, then we will catch up. We'll make up for everything that we had missed. Thank you very much to everybody.